Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Jeremy Birmingham, and it is once again a commitment edition of Bermanology as Ohio State gets back on the board in the class of 2024 with a big-time priority target in linebacker prospect, four-star prospect, Peyton Pierce from Lovejoy High School outside of Dallas, Texas. He's committed to Ohio State. He's going to tell you why right now. Peyton Pierce joins us now. Peyton, congratulations. You've just made the announcement on your social media pages. I imagine it feels like a weight off your shoulders to have this finished and done with and let the world know you are now going to be an Ohio State Buckeye.
Yes, sir. It's felt great to, finally get it over with, and it was a long journey, but we're here now, and so I'm super glad and thankful for it, and it feels really good. Now I can go focus on my teammates and focus on spring ball and what's really important.
I'm interested, Peyton, when we talked a few weeks ago prior to your visit, you mentioned that you probably had been more excited to take that Ohio State trip than any trip you had planned. When you make the trip and then it lives up to all that expectation, how reassuring is that? I mean, how devastating, I guess, would it have been if it wasn't what you thought?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was kind of thinking. It was like, normally whenever you hype something up and you hype something up and you're bound to get let down, and it didn't happen. I was so hyped up about it and so excited, and I felt it. I mean, it was even better than what I imagined, and so it was so reassuring. And I knew when I was there that was where I wanted to go, but I was gonna go check out all these other schools just to double check and make sure that that's what I wanted to do. And I thought my timeline was gonna go all the way into the summer, and I started sitting down and realizing, like, what am I doing? This is why would I waste all this time when I know this is where I want to go? And so I talked to my parents, and then we got it all done, and talked to the coaches and stuff. So it's felt great. It's been hard to call all these coaches and let them know. That's probably been the toughest part, because I've had such good relationships with them throughout the process since the beginning of sophomore year. So it was definitely rough doing that, but it feels really good.
Go back to that conversation with me. It's been, 4 days at this point since you actually told the Ohio State staff what your intentions were. How did that phone call go? I know you're talking to James Laurinaitis and Jim Knowles and those guys all the time, but did you call and say, I need to have a serious conversation? Or is it a, hey, let's this is the news? I mean, how did you break that down to those guys?
Well, they were really blowing up my phone, texting me. Like, they put me in a group chat with the defensive staff, and Coach Day texted me and was like, "This is about a day before. This is when I sat down and realized that's what I want. I want to go commit." And about a day before that, or day after, I sat down and realized that my parents told me to sit on it for a day and kind of make sure that's what I want to do. And I had a whole long conversation. Then I got a text from Coach Day, and it was like, "What do you like about Ohio State?" And I told him, I was like, and I really had to sit down and think about it. And I was like, why is it that I want to come here? And it's seeing, when I went there, I watched how the players interact with each other and how they compete with one another, and it was such a great competitive environment that I liked and I wanted to be a part of. And watching Coach Knowles coach, and just how he manages all that, and pushes those guys, and just how they do stuff on defense, it was really just it was better than what I've seen at basically every other school, and it was so appealing. And then everything else about Ohio State was just so great, and so that's kind of what I told him. I told him that it's the people in the building not only can develop me as the best football player, but I think they can develop me as the best person I can be. And I think Coach Laurinaitis is great for that too. He's a big Christian and someone that I believe would be a good leader, and so I think he's a part of that too. And so I just think they have a really good staff and a lot of good things about it. And I texted him that, and then I texted him again the next day. I was like, "Hey, Coach, can I hop on a phone call with y'all?" And he was like, "Sure, let's get a group FaceTime call." So we got all the coaches on there, and I told him I broke the news, and we were super excited, and it was awesome. It felt really good to get it off and tell him that that's what I wanted to do, because I feel like I've been wanting to say it for a while to him, and I just finally got it done, and it felt so good. And then so after that, I texted Garrett and told him that I'm committing, and he called me. He didn't even answer my text. Called me like 10 seconds later, and was like screaming into the phone about how excited he was and stuff, and how good it felt to have like another defensive guy committed now. And so it was really reassuring with me. Like, man, I made the right decision, and it felt good. And we talked for about 20 more minutes, and it just felt really good after that. And yeah, and so now 4 days later, we're here.
You know, it is interesting with you in the class now. Ohio State moves to 10 guys committed, and as you said, there's only 2 defensive commitments, and that's you and Garrett Stover, the linebacker. You know, room, I guess, is the starting point. And if you look at the Ohio State defense right now, the linebackers are pretty much where it all begins. And now you two are sort of put in a position where you can help shape this class and really build, you know, around what you want as far as personalities go and who you're looking for in your class. Who is the guy that, like, on that phone call with Garrett, that you guys said, hey, you know what, this is our first guy we got to get on the horn? I'm not going to ask you to name a bunch of guys, but I'm going to ask you to name at least the first one.
He named a couple of guys. We didn't really name any guys yet, like anyone specific, but he said he's been trying to get guys. Like, we were so excited. Like, we didn't really like name drop,
Yeah.
but I know he said he's got some guys that he's been trying to push on that. But I mean, I've been added to a group chats and stuff, and so I think with all this momentum Ohio State's getting, I think I can do a pretty good job of recruiting. I think we're in a really good spot with me and Garrett being the only defensive guys committed, and you know, just defense is built around the linebacker, so it's really good. It feels good for me that I can help, you know, build everything and kind of because you got to be the leadership. You got to be the leader of the defense, right, and playing right in the middle of the field. And so I think that's really cool, as I can, you know, help build this class. Garrett can help build this class and who we want and stuff like that. And so I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm super excited to start doing that.
Let's go back to the visit. So it's been a little over 2 weeks since that trip. You got home, and I know from talking to you the day after you returned, there was at least a thought. There was a little bit of a flicker in your brain saying, maybe I don't need to take any other trips. You sat down, you talked yourself out of that. You went to Tennessee the week after. There was still the expected visit to Notre Dame that was on the docket. Did you realize that at some point, if you go, let's say you go back to Notre Dame to make sure that or if you go back to Oklahoma or you go back to Tennessee, then you would have to go back to Ohio State, and then it just keeps like turning into this avalanche?
Absolutely. Well, I got back from that trip, and I realized, like, man, this is the place I want to be. But we already had scheduled other trips and stuff, and so my parents were like, "How about you just sit on it a week?" Because I mean, I go to a lot of these schools, and you really like it right after, so it's easy to jump the gun, and I wanted to be completely sure about it, prayed a lot about it and stuff. Went to Tennessee, and Tennessee was great. Like, I had a great time at Tennessee, and I think I'd be a good fit there, but it's just, I think I feel like it's the fit at Ohio State for me is perfect, and I don't feel like I want to go anywhere else, and this is the place I want to be. And unfortunately, my best friend Sam, who's our starting center, got diagnosed with leukemia. He won state this year in wrestling, was my wrestling partner, and so I want to be there for him and stuff. And so I don't want to be leaving every weekend going on these recruiting visits when I can, you know, be at the hospital with him, hanging out with him. Like, and especially since I know I want to go to Ohio State, what's the point of going to, you know, all these other schools and checking it out whenever I can be hanging out with him? And so that's kind of what it came down to, and that just helped me even more make the decision.
For a guy like you, because you want to please everyone. I think that's sort of just by nature when you're a kid from a good family and you got, positive support around you, it becomes second nature to try to be a people pleaser. Was it hard for you in this process to sit down and almost have to be selfish, to think about what was best for only you and to block out all the other stuff?
It was so hard, and I didn't think it was going to be that hard. Um, and it really calling these coaches, because Ohio State was a little later than these, so I haven't than some of these schools, so I haven't had the longest relationship with them. But some of these guys, I mean, I've been talking to them since I was in beginning of sophomore year, and
Yeah.
they've been so good to me and stuff. And I think what was really hard is I just called them out of the blue. Like I had coaches, like I had visits scheduled. Like I had to just call these guys and tell them I'm not coming there when I had a visit scheduled 2 weeks later. And so it was super hard because I want to be a pleaser, and I don't want to, I don't. It's just hard. It's hard for me to sit down and be selfish and say, hey, this is what I want to do. And it's also hard for me to go on all these recruiting trips and posting all this stuff when I can be here with Sam, or I can be with our teammates, focusing on them. And so, and having me committed before spring ball feels so good, so I can start working on getting better, not worrying about who's coming, what coach is coming to see me and stuff like that. So that's kind of what else I've thought about into making this decision.
Well, now that those other trips aren't happening, do you have flight, vouchers that you can use and change them and get back to Columbus for the spring game this coming weekend? Or, I mean, is that a little too much?
I haven't even thought about that. Well, I have a little bit, but this has all happened so fast. Yeah, I mean, I might if I might try to come up and see if we can do that. I know it's kind of hard for my parents, fly all these places
Yeah.
and spend money and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I might. We'll see. I'm got to get some Ohio State gear. I don't have too much. I was at the visit. I was at the Woody the entire time, and we were doing stuff, so I didn't really get to go, shop around or stuff. I got a hat that's at the airport, so I gotta get some Ohio State clothes and rep them at school for. And so, because I've got clothes for other colleges, but got to get rid of those, and so I got to stock up on some Buckeye gear. So that's the next step.
Well, if we could go back to that trip, I mean, you're there. It's Ohio State's first spring scrimmage that weekend. They were doing some competition. You're getting a chance to watch what they do at linebacker. Why did you know that defense fit you, and what made it the right fit for you?
Well, I had a really good relationship with Coach Laurinaitis going into this, and I already knew him, and so I really came to see Coach Knowles. A lot of people, I don't know why people don't think, like I see stuff on Twitter that he's this and that about recruiting, and I mean, I went there and that's really what sold me was Coach Knowles and the defense he runs. Like I feel like I really fit that. He's a pretty good recruiter. He convinced me, and so and watching them on defense, their linebackers do a lot, and it's really linebacker friendly. And I like the way Coach Knowles gets after his guys and stuff like that. And I think he holds them to a good standard. And it just is the type of environment I want to be in. And then alongside, you get Coach Laurinaitis. So it's just it's a really good mix of people. And it felt like the place for me. And just watching the environment of practice and how competitive it was, and just being at the level it is at Ohio State, I really want to play with the best on the biggest stage, and so that I think is just a great opportunity.
Well, Peyton, we really do appreciate you sharing, your thoughts on the commitment, and obviously life has been a whirlwind in the last few weeks for you, but I know that you have put a lot of thought into it, and I'm sure Ohio State fans are absolutely thrilled tonight as you made this decision, and look forward to seeing you back on campus. Probably not this weekend for the spring game, but official visit in June, I would imagine.
Yes, sir. I'll be back soon.
Well, congratulations once again. That's Peyton Pierce. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This has been a commitment edition of Bermanology on the podcast. Thank you for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.